But the best thing about this order is that it's Ryanair. It's Michael. They're a tough test. Always have been, they always will be. Boeing and Ryanair announcing their largest deal to date. The Irish budget airline placing an order for up to 300 737 MAX jets. We are here with breaking news that has upset the entire European and American aviation industry. Ryanair has announced that it may take serious steps to cancel a Boeing order worth more than $30 billion. Such a move will not only shake the relationship between the two giant companies, but also has the potential to deeply affect the global aviation market. So why did Ryanair take such a drastic step? How big could the potential losses be for Boeing? And how will this development affect the Europe-US trade balance? If you want to know the answer to all these questions, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and don't forget to hit the like button. The deal Ryanair is discussing cancelling involves a massive order for Boeing 737s. Industry insiders are talking about a total list price of $30 to $35 billion. Of course, airlines often offer significant discounts for purchases of this magnitude, but the fact that the nominal value of the order is well over $30 billion shows the seriousness of the issue. The 737 MAX variants, which have a list price of around $110 million per aircraft, can offer discounts of up to 40% to low-cost giants such as Ryanair. Nevertheless, it is clear that such a large-scale cancellation will shake Boeing's coffers. According to the company's official records, Boeing's revenue from the commercial airplane segment in 2024 was approximately $23.2 billion. If a cancellation of Ryan's planned size materializes, Boeing's future revenue projections could suddenly take a big hit, because the deliveries of this order would be spread over a period of 5 to 8 years, and Boeing would deliver a certain number of airplanes to Ryanair each year, providing a steady revenue stream of billions of dollars to its coffers. If we recall that Boeing's total revenue was around $37.5 billion in 2024, the cancellation of a $30 to $35 billion deal could dramatically change the company's profit margins and cash flow in the medium term. It should be emphasized that Boeing would not only be deprived of aircraft sales in this scenario. When such a huge order is canceled, ancillary revenue streams such as spare parts and maintenance contracts are also closed. In the long run, Boeing may even lose many of its value-added services, such as pilot training, simulator services, and software upgrades. Aircraft manufacturers usually earn higher profits in the long run through spare parts and maintenance contracts, not through airplane sales. The Ryanair move has the potential to take all these additional resources away from Boeing. When we look at the net loss figures, analysts expected Boeing to realize a total of around $20 billion in real income from this deal. Because even though the list price is high, the actual sales price includes significant discounts. This expected input of $20 billion implies a profit of at least $5 billion to $7 billion for Boeing, even after deducting the cost of manufacturing the airplanes and operational expenses. Even more conservative estimates suggest a net profit of around $4 billion if the deal is completely scrapped. Boeing may not be able to realize a profit potential of this magnitude from another airline in a very short period of time. Moreover, Boeing does not want to take such a blow while it is still recovering from the 737 MAX crisis. The Europe-US trade dimension is also striking. According to historical data, the European Union's exports of aircraft, parts, and aviation equipment to the US hover around $35 billion annually, while US aviation exports to the EU are around $20 to $25 billion here. Competition between Boeing and Airbus has been exacerbated by lawsuits over subsidies and tariffs. The escalating trade war, especially under Donald Trump, has led to reciprocal tariffs, which Boeing has repeatedly called on the US authorities to address, saying they actually hurt the customer. However, it is difficult to talk about a permanent solution at the moment. Ryan's CEO recently had a confrontation with a US congressman. In this debate, the CEO again threatened that we will go back to Chinese airplanes, arguing that additional customs costs would destroy the company's competitiveness if it opted for Boeing. Although China's Comac C919 model has not yet completed its European certification, it is rumoured to be able to offer extremely competitive offers in terms of price thanks to the unlimited support of the Beijing administration. A giant like Ryanair's choice to gradually add Chinese-made aircraft to the fleet is interpreted as a step that could shake the long-standing Boeing-Airbus dominance. But how close is the decision to cancel? Really? Some experts believe that it is a bargaining chip. In other words, Ryanair may be aiming to extract additional concessions from both Boeing and EU-US tax policies by saying, "We will stop ordering Boeing." However, the unfortunate accidents of the Boeing 737 MAX and the subsequent safety questions have already exhausted Ryanair's patience. In addition, the airline industry, which has recovered after CO-19, does not want to be shaken again by rising costs and global economic uncertainties. Therefore, Ryanair may indeed look for a new supplier and may seriously consider Comac. To understand the impact of this possible cancellation on Boeing, it is enough to look at the company's current order and delivery figures in the commercial airplane segment. According to Boeing's current records, there are more than 4,000 pending orders in the 737 family. But the sudden withdrawal of a major customer like Ryanair would be both a financial and psychological blow. Experts predict that Boeing shares could lose between 5 and 10% on the stock market. The company, which is trying to get back on its feet after the pandemic, is also experiencing pains in the supply chain. In addition, due to the tensions between the US and China, Boeing finds its position in the Chinese market unstable. Add to these challenges the cancellation of one of its largest customers in Europe, and Boeing could once again enter a cycle of crisis. Of course, it would be a mistake to think that Boeing will be the only one to suffer from this development. Ryanair is also taking a big risk in terms of aircraft procurement.
The company's fleet consists almost entirely of the Boeing 737 family. Elements such as pilot training, spare parts, and maintenance infrastructure are all shaped according to this model. If the company really wants to switch to Chinese aircraft, there is a completely different logistics and training chain that needs to be put in place. In addition, it may take years for the European Aviation Safety Agency to approve Comac aircraft, accelerate testing processes, and establish maintenance and repair centers. However, if Ryanair is willing to take this risk, it may be thinking that the cost of the tariffs is much heavier. Meanwhile, the contract between Boeing and Ryanair also includes penalty clauses in case of cancellation. Usually, in such huge deals, billions of dollars in damages can be involved. Ryanair may try to avoid these damages with an argument similar to force majeure, especially by claiming unexpected cost increases arising from trade wars. However, the details of the contract are not publicly known. Nevertheless, Ryanair's plan must certainly be comprehensive both legally and financially, as canceling the order at once risks severing the long-standing relationship with Boeing forever. Turning to European aviation import-export data, more than 40% of the EU's global aviation trade is with the US. This makes Boeing's presence in the region strategic. If a giant customer like Ryanair pulls out of Boeing, could other European airlines follow suit? This question is a Boeing management nightmare. Some analysts say that companies such as Lufthansa, EasyJet, or Air France are also reacting to the tariffs with the United States, although they have not yet made such radical statements. If the current customs policies do not change, we may hear more cancellations in the medium term. The Chinese factor becomes more important at this point. It is thanks to the Chinese state that Comac's C919 model has been able to compete with the 737 MAX and Airbus A320neo in terms of range capacity and fuel efficiency. With high government subsidies and an aggressive technology transfer policy, Comac is growing rapidly. If Ryanair places a serious order for Comac aircraft, it will open the door to enter the European market. At a time of heightened trade tensions with the United States, the European Union may also give the green light to develop aviation cooperation with China. This would, of course, ring bells for Boeing and Airbus. Although Airbus is based in Europe, similar to Boeing, it is worried about tariffs and reciprocal sanctions to avoid disruptions in its massive supply chain. In the end, the losers in trade wars can sometimes be both sides. Beyond the economic dimension, there are also geopolitical interests at stake. While the US calls Boeing its national pride, it is not uncommon for the EU to protect and support Airbus in the same way. China, on the other hand, wants to gain strategic power by bringing Comac into the global market. Ryanair is trying to put itself in the most advantageous position in this power struggle. Ryanair, which is almost the leader in the low-cost airline market, wants to keep its ticket prices down by keeping the amount it will pay per plane to a minimum and to remain constantly superior to its competitors. For this reason, it openly states in various statements that it will not hesitate to turn to Comac if the tariffs are not cancelled or mitigated. So, what might happen in the final phase? Most likely, we will see a period of intense negotiations between Boeing and Ryanair. Politicians may step in and discuss the possibility of partial exemptions or additional tariff reductions.